Hello everyone, my name is Putty and welcome back for another edition of Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. This is the May show, May 2021. This is Old School Rules. There are a couple things to have a little bit of a natter about before we begin the episode today. The first of which is I've upped my production values a little bit more. And that's why we're running the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium tonight, to recoup the cost. But also the reason why we're running this Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium tonight is we are saying goodbye to a good friend. Because between episodes, we got the announcement, we got an email through, that El Mítico Jr. has signed a full-time deal with South of the Border Pro Wrestling. We wish nothing but the best to the lad who's done a lot of good for us. But we decided to give him a proper send-off. And tonight, in our opening contest, El Mítico Jr. is going to go one-on-one with the Confederation of the Territories World Heavyweight Champion George Woolf, with his title on the line. Other than that, huge show tonight. Logan Wolfsbaine and Ernest Youngman in our main event for the Mid-Atlantic Championship, and a Steel Cage Tornado tag match with the team of Acid and Stuntman Devil May Care, putting their Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Championships on the line against the Ring Generals. And it has been announced that in a re-ignition of their long-standing feud, Kamikaze is going to go one-on-one with American Elemental. All that and a little bit more here at the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium for Old School Rules. And we kick things off with a final match of El Mítico Jr. as these two have a good wrestling match with a decent reaction from the crowd. George Woolf defeats El Mítico Jr. in 31 minutes and 49 seconds by submission with a figure 4 leg lock. George Woolf makes defense number 11 of his World Heavyweight Championship. El Mítico Jr., throwing his high-flying, fluid, technical wrestling style at George Woolf, trying to put George Woolf off his game, trying to keep the pace really high, as El Mítico Jr. likes to do, trying to use that lucha libre influence, trying to kick up the pace here in our opening contest of Old School Rules, putting his body on the line, knowing that this is his last shot at the heavyweight championship of the world. But George Woolf, he is competent, he is an excellent technical wrestler mixed in with a great brawler as well, and he is able to put on the line absolutely every maneuver El Mítico Jr. throws at George Woolf. George Woolf is able to counter, is able to slip out of and put on his own holds, his own maneuvers, and George Woolf is able to go toe-to-toe with El Mítico Jr., who is South of the Border bound. And indeed, George Woolf shows that he is the measuring stick. He is the guy to beat here in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, and matches El Mítico Jr. every step of the way and ends up getting the advantage and picking up the victory with a figure 4 leg lock. Very good stuff from these guys. Oh, George Woolf is apparently on painkillers. Interesting. Also, stamina. Went too long for a mid-level match. Huh, that's interesting. I haven't seen that for a while. How did they determine this is a mid-level match? The workers? The workers. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. And after the match, George Woolf gets on the mic and says, I said last month I had a big announcement tonight. And I got two things I want to cover because I also want to say goodbye to a warrior. So first of all, I want to make my announcement. I don't want this to overshadow the departure of an absolute legend here, so I'm going to make my announcement. I hold in my hands the most prestigious championship in the wrestling world. This is the championship that makes you number one. And I gotta say, I have beaten some of the biggest names in the territories while holding this. Ernest Youngman, Island Boy Apollo, Jackpot Jordan. Almost everybody you can think of from here to California I have beaten. And there's only one man who's ever held this title quite as long as I have. There's only one man who has just as many defenses as I do. And his name is Nicholas Lopez. And I want to tell you that I want to be the greatest wrestling champion in history. So Nicholas Lopez, you are the only other man with a claim to that legacy. And so I challenge you, be here next month, be here at Fan Festival and let me defeat you and prove that I am the greatest World Heavyweight Champion in history. But enough about that. Because I want to say some words about a good friend, about a warrior, a guerrero, about El Mítico Jr., a man who came in here and gave his heart for this company and gave his heart for this business. He's a man who took me to my limit on a number of occasions. He's a man who deserves all the praise and all the credit in the world. And he deserves to move on to south of the border, and he deserves all the success and all the money and all the fame that he's going to get. And I wanted to offer my hand to one of the greatest competitors that I've ever had the pleasure of being in the ring with. The two shake hands, the two embrace, and now Mythico Jr. moves on to south of the border pro wrestling. Sad to see him go. Definitely sad to see him go. As we move on to the reignition of the Kamikaze American Elemental feud, and these two have their usual innovative balls to the walls match where they just throw their bodies at each other. They know their MO during these matches is that they just want to do, they don't care how much damage they do to their own bodies. They just want to beat each other. They just want to win the match and prove that they're better, and that brings out the absolute best in these two. As they innovate, they come up with ridiculous, high-flying, high-risk moves off the barricades, off the balconies, off the stairs. Doesn't matter what's going on. They'll do anything it takes to win. And Kamikaze, in the end, picks up the victory, gets back on track with a reverse 450 splash. Good stuff from both these guys as they carry on. You know, American Elemental didn't get to use his technical wrestling during this match. It was a lot about the high-flying, the high-octane, the balls-to-the-walls style matches that we end up getting here in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. But, you know, we definitely American Elemental has shown in the past that when he can use that fluid technical wrestling, he's much more than just a high flyer. But tonight, Kamikaze suckered him in. Kamikaze made American Elemental play his game. And Kamikaze proved that if you want to play his game, if you want to play that high-risk, adrenaline rush, high-risk, high-reward style, Kamikaze's the best in the world. And that's exactly what he proved tonight at Old School Rules. Sythe continues his momentum by destroying the youngster Huracan. You know, we've seen people often exploit weaknesses in Sythe by playing up to a high-flying lucha libre style. And indeed, Huracan tries to pick up the pace here, tries to really bring it against Sythe, tries to use his lucha libre, use his high flying to get Sythe off balance, to expose and exploit those weaknesses that Sythe has. But unfortunately, Sythe is just too brutal, is too vicious, too vindictive, and too clinical to fall for such things. And Vinny Cruz is not at ringside. I keep forgetting to remove him from Sythe. But Sythe just batters, just brutalizes the youngster in Huracan. And although Huracan does put in an absolutely fine display, really good stuff from him as he shows off his wonderful moves, Sythe is just too clinical, and Sythe ends up putting the youngster away with the underworld spike. And in what may be the final match between these two long-term rivals, we have a steel cage tornado tag match with Devil May Care. Of course, they're well suited to the chaos and the fluidity that is a tornado tag match, but the ring generals have proven in the past that they can use the cage as a weapon, that they're vicious and they're vindictive, especially Deadly Dean Waldorf, who likes to lock all of his opponents in nasty, nasty bone-crunching and limb-extorting holes while their face just gets rammed constantly and repeatedly into the unforgiving steel of a steel cage. But indeed, the Devil May Care do thrive on the chaos and the fast pace of this tornado tag match, while Deadly Dean tries to work down Stuntman, tries to rip flesh off of him from that steel cage, trying to use the brutal, the destructive, the vindictive cage as a weapon to take back those tag team titles. But in the end, Devil May Care are able to take the advantage. They're able to use that chaos. They're able to climb to the top of the cage and do some flippity flips off of it. You know, some absolutely awe-inspiring stunts from the man known as Stuntman. And, of course, Acid 2 able to use his technical skills to go toe-to-toe with Dean Waldorf, not allowing him to brutalize the team of Acid and Stuntman. Indeed, going toe-to-toe with Dean Waldorf, almost using his own game against him, maybe brutalizing Dean Waldorf a little bit up against that cage, really vindictive, as Sythe and Stuntman have been known to be quite vindictive, quite brutal. And indeed, in this matchup, they're able to thrive in the environment of the Tornado Tag Steel Cage. They're able to thrive on the chaos and the brutality, and in the end, they do pick up the victory with their trademarked Jump the Shark. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our main event of the evening. It is time for Ernest Youngman versus Logan Wolfsbaine. Ernest Youngman, who claims to be the wrestling machine, the best there's ever been, claims that he is forever. He's facing off against one of the greatest Mid-Atlantic wrestling champions of all time. He's put away some big names. And in tonight's main event, who will come out on top? Who will thrive? In A79B, Logan Wolfsbaine defeats Ernest Youngman in 15 minutes and 13 seconds by submission with a Boston Crab after interference from Robin Delay. Indeed, I like to think that this is a Sid Collier special. You know, these two go at it with their excellent technical skills. Ernest Youngman with the fast-paced, fluid, technical wrestling that he is known for, with a wink to the crowd and a smile. He locks in absolutely every technical wrestling maneuver that you can think of. Moving from hold to hold, from body part to body part, working down every single limb that Logan Wolfsbaine has. But we have mentioned it before, when you are as strong, as physically gifted as Logan Wolfsbaine, sometimes you just power out of holds that someone like Ernest Youngman would have to escape out of. And that's exactly what Logan Wolfsbaine does. Every time Ernest Youngman seems to have him in a corner, metaphorical corner. Every time Ernest Youngman seems to have him in a hold that he wouldn't be able to escape from, he just uses that power to get one step closer to the ropes. He uses that power to just shrug Ernest Youngman off, and that's, you know, Ernest Youngman is not a small guy. He's a light heavyweight too. You know, he's a big lad. But Logan Wolfsbaine is just bigger, and more importantly, you know, he's more defined. He's got a little bit more muscle, where Ernest has just a little bit of less muscle, and he's able to use that just natural power that Logan Wolfsbaine has. He's an Adonis. He looks like a bodybuilder who was walked into professional wrestling, and he's able to just power out of every hold Ernest can. You know, Logan Wolfsbaine, he's a brawler at heart sometimes. You know, he's able to hit those lariats, those big rights, those big lefts, but he's also got some really, really solid mat wrestling. And, you know, he's able to just brutally inflict pain on on Ernest's leg, on Ernest's lower back. He's able to really focus in on that back pain. He's going to be feeling it the next night. But Ernest Youngman will not go down without a fight. Ernest Youngman is passionate. He's got heart. He's got fire. And he's one of the strongest professional wrestlers in the territories today. And no matter how much pain Logan Wolfsbaine inflicts on him, he keeps coming. He keeps fighting. And out comes Robin Delay. And the referee gets knocked out, coincidentally. And then suddenly the two go to work. And, you know, we haven't seen this from Team Progress before. We certainly have never seen this from a guy like George Wolf. Never exploiting the rules, but indeed the ref is out, and Robin Delay and Logan Wolfsbaine go to work on Ernest Youngman, beating him down, brutalizing him, and eventually Robin Delay hits him with a delay down, and Ernest Youngman is knocked out. He's unconscious, and Logan Wolfsbaine gets him in a really cocky, really half-assed Boston Crab. If Ernest was conscious, he would just kick out of it immediately, but the referee sees Ernest knocked out and in a Boston Crab and calls for the bell. Logan Wolfsbaine makes defense number 5 of his Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Championship under extremely dubious circumstances. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please remember to leave a thumbs up. Check out the rest of the series. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're feeling especially generous, check out a link to my Patreon in the description. If you want to hear me rambling, there is a link to my Twitter in the description. I've had a lot of cool tweets over the last couple of weeks. So keep those coming. I do read all my tweets and I read all my comments, and it's been really fun to converse with you guys over the series. I hope you guys are continuing to enjoy it. I'm really having a lot of fun with this series, and I think we are going to have an uptick towards the end of the year. I'm actually really looking forward to booking the expansion shows. They're going to be terrible, but they're going to be really low effort, and I can kind of just, I don't know. I don't know why, but I'm really looking forward to booking the expansion show. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you next time for Fan Festival, which will probably be main evented by George Wolf versus Nicholas Lopez. See you guys then.